Welcome. Thanks for joining me again. I hope you all had a great Mother's Day weekend 2023. I know it comes up on us pretty fast. A lot of things do, but this one seemed to really just like come up on us. We had such a mild spring so far. Like all of a sudden it's like cold in May here in the southeastern United States. And then I heard in some other places, at least on the eastern half, that they had gotten snow, which does happen once in a while. That would be up in the Midwest and places like that. I just can't believe that. But I remember my last year being in the Cleveland, Ohio area. We had gotten snow. I'll never forget it. It was May 9th. And I was doing camera at the 3/8 pole at a horse racetrack. And I'm up there, and it was just disgustingly dreary and just very depressing. And all of a sudden, ugh, the snow came down. It was May 9th. Can't believe that. A few moons ago. I'm not going to give away my age here. I'd rather not. Anywho, today's May 15th, also known as International Family Day. We just had Mother's Day, so now like there's International Family Day. Like, who came up with this thing? And it's also known as National Straw Hat Day. So get out your straw hats. I have not had a straw hat. I don't think I ever had a straw hat. Not into straw hats. I'm into different types, like the fedoras, which is, when I'm in a fedora mood, I'll throw that on, or the old newsboy hat. That's always a fun one to wear when I'm in that European mood. Really enjoy that. So a lot of other kind of days today too. Bring flowers to someone day, but I just sent flowers up to mom there. So I don't know why we came up with that today. So May 15th, in the middle of May, we are heading towards the halfway point in 2023. Hard to believe. Today, I have on the program, the old podcast, Nili Brosh, if I'm saying that correctly. I never got a pronouncer on that one. I see the name from all the materials that were sent to me. I had a great talk. She's been doing guitar for a long time now. She's amazing. Total genius with the guitar. As a solo artist, she's done a lot of work, and she just came out with two new songs, and she just released them back to back on May 9th and 10th of this year. We talked quite a bit about that. And then her guitar work, working with Danny Elfman and being in the Cirque du Soleil show in Las Vegas. Talk a little bit about Vegas, the desert, her love of the desert. She was in Israel up until a certain age, so that kind of like brought back some of those feelings of her roots. So it's a great talk. Hope you enjoy this. We had a really good time. You seem to love Las Vegas because it
I
kind of
do.
mirrors things. Yeah, you got
Yeah.
the desert.
Yes, exactly.
Nice, nice. How long have you been in Vegas?
Just about 6 years now. Six? Yeah. 6 years. Wow. Crazy.
Doesn't it go? It goes so fast. It really does.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially routine, like doing a show in Vegas. I'm sure, 'cause, nightly or however often you do it. I'm sure it's
Yeah.
like you feel like you're on this treadmill.
Oh yeah.
Amazing. So you got some new music coming out.
I do.
You got some new songs out there. How did these come about?
Yeah. So both of these were written over the pandemic, Song for Hope and Lavender Mountains, and as the release suggests, one after the other. They're meant to be listened to one after the other, and that's why I'm releasing Song for Hope first. And that to me felt like this kind of quiet representation of my mindset at the time, and therefore kind of transitioning into the triumphant sounds of Lavender Mountains. I'm describing things that don't make sense unless you hear the stuff, but yeah, I mean that was the intention, and so hopefully the music speaks for that.
Yeah, Song for Hope. Now you did this you wrote it during the pandemic. How does
Hmm.
how does that process come through for you? I mean, your total guitar How does that muse come to you, and especially during the pandemic?
Yeah, I mean, the good thing about the pandemic is that I had time to
Yeah,
work on
we
this
know.
stuff, and or to just kind of have my mind open to hearing things. Ideally, most of the music that I put out, I do hear in my head first, regardless of whether it's played on the guitar, or whether it's played on the guitar or a different instrument.
Hmm.
That's usually how I write music, and that was no different. So my thought process with that is kind of always jotting down some notes into my voice memos. Usually, I'll actually sing the melody. With "Song for Hope," I happened to find the demo recently, and it seems that I did play it on guitar, and it was a very early version of that. But other than that, it's pretty much that's how it goes. And then when I'm ready to flesh it out and work on it and demo it, I go back to the notes that I've jotted down. So that was no different with these two. And again, I had the time, I had the mindset. I mean, right now it's difficult because with a juggling act, you don't really feel like your mind is open to like receive new music. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
exactly. You got to be inspired. And that's the thing about the
yeah,
arts.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
so it's about like, optimism that you were trying to where'd you find that energy during the pandemic to say, "Hey, I'm going to do this thing about optimism and try to really put some energy into this."
I don't know. I mean, maybe I think "Song for Hope" was actually written later on, even though I guess they both do kind of sound hopeful anyway. But I think that kind of made itself seen in hindsight. You know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
don't think I was necessarily feeling too good at the time, but maybe it was just the little nugget of hope that it's not going to be forever, and one day we're not going to feel like this.
Yeah. And that was tough because I was thinking during it, I was like, "Oh my, are we going to is there any light through the trees
Well,
here?"
right.
Is
And
yeah.
maybe that's why it happened. It's like because that was neat, because that little thing was needed. I don't know. Maybe that was just the way out, and now you're seeing it. But
Yeah, we're
yeah,
pretty much there. I didn't think we'd get there this soon. I was like, is it going to be 5 years? More than that? Gosh, I
yeah.
mean, how are we going to operate?
I'm glad I'm glad it exceeded your expectations
It
because
really
most
did.
people did not think that
Yeah.
way, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it really was. And all the crazy stuff going on too with it. Everything became political and people in their own corners. It was
I
just
know.
madness. So, yeah,
It was madness. So you're right. It could have lasted a lot longer. I mean, world wars lasted longer.
right.
So, you know.
Scary stuff. And then that leads into
Hmm.
Lavender Mountains. And you got a great video. I love the
Thank
video.
you. Thank
Excellent. You,
you.
you capture the desert.
Yeah, so that was the first time that I committed to doing a really simple music video that's not super decked out with all kinds of stuff going on. And I thought it was the right thing for it just because it was obvious what a visual representation that was going to require. So Alec Clausen, who directed it, did a really good job of capturing the light in the right time of day with the right color in the mountains, and really, I think it really reflects the way that I see those mountains in town. I always feel like cameras can't capture the sunsets that we have here, but it's still they're good. There's good colors in this video. So.
Yeah, yeah. Lavender itself, it's got that whole theme to it. It's Anomaly is
Exactly.
and that's really nice.
Yeah.
Shot and
So his name is
edited.
Alec. Yep. Yeah, he
Nice.
did. He did a great job. So
Yeah. Yeah. So and working with Danny Elfman, what is that like?
it's incredible. It's
It's
a
gotta
dream.
be.
It is a dream. Absolutely. I mean, he's just such a genius, and he's such a wonderful person, and we all feel like family, and we all kind of slack off during rehearsals and hang out. It's great. It's the best.
What kind of does he give you advice for your solo work? I mean, he must be obviously impressed.
I mean, he doesn't give me advice for it really. I mean, we don't really have the time to go into anything else besides whatever we're working on when we see each other, and that's pretty much it. But I don't know. I feel like the relationship aside from that is much more. We're all friends and we all want to be playing together. So
Oh, sure, sure. I mean, it's just got to be really amazing to just be with somebody with such an iconic name and just to be
Yeah,
out there
it's
and
pretty crazy. And seriously, I mean, he treats us like a band, not like hired guns. And and it would be fine if he did, he does, but just he always goes above and beyond. And it really, to think that he cares about our views and what we bring to the table and what we bring to the band is just incredible. To work with someone like that and then to really feel like you're actually contributing to the music is, I think, something that's really rare. So I'm
yeah.
very grateful for that.
Yeah, that's way different than working for a solo performer and
Well,
being that
exactly.
backup. Yeah.
Exactly. And again, and like that would still be amazing. And I don't expect anything, and it doesn't have to be that way. But just to think that it really is a family in that sense is beyond anything I could have ever dreamed of.
So doing Cirque du Soleil, what type of songs have you been playing with Danny Elfman? Is the Simpsons theme song, is that all part of that?
So that's a Danny thing, and it's part of the set, and so
Yeah.
we kind of get to unleash and have fun on that with the rocked out version of The Simpsons. The Cirque du Soleil show that I do is their Michael Jackson show, so it's strictly that music, which is a lot of fun too, because obviously the guitar gets kind of a large
Oh,
feature.
yes. Yeah.
So it's all about that, and I'm a character in the show. I have this ridiculous gold outfit costume that's crazy. I have a guitar that shoots fire. It's a spectacle.
Wow. I
It
gotta
is a
get out there.
spectacle. Yeah.
I really gotta get
So
out there. That sounds really
you
cool.
should. Yeah. So now I do it on a part-time basis, which is amazing because then I get to go and do other stuff. I did it full time for about 2 years, and like you were saying, it was definitely a routine. It was definitely a
Yeah.
routine, but it left very little time for other things. So now I really blessedly get to live my best life of doing all the things, and I don't know how it's allowed, but I'm doing it.
Yeah, and you're balancing a
Yeah,
lot. That's really good. You have your own creative outlet with that,
right.
and then something that's really paying the bills. Obviously, it's gotta be. So you take the lead on Beat It. Is
Yep.
that? Oh
Yeah,
my
and that's the
gosh.
moment where you shoot the fire. So basically, the whole, I mean, I don't want to say the entire gig is built around that, but the audition process certainly uh, focused on, can you walk backwards in heels while playing the solo and then kind of set foot in one place, aim, and be able to. I mean, you're not the one shooting the fire, but you have to stand there and aim at the right time and hold it steady while you're playing the last trill ascending lick of the solo. So it's a whole thing, but it gets muscle memory like everything else. It's so ingrained now. I've done so many of those shows, but it is a very specific skill set.
Oh yeah,
Very
definitely.
specific. Yeah.
Yeah, so you're Eddie Van Halen for so many minutes. That's it, but like
Hmm.
on steroids,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's really cool. Did you love that song growing up? Did you
I
like say
did.
one day I'm
Yeah.
gonna play that?
Absolutely. I mean, I love Michael's music, and even the acts that I'm not on, like we're always, all of us are singing everything backstage. Like no matter how many of those shows, you just can't get that stuff out of your head. So whether you want to or not, you're singing all the hits. And they remixed it in a really cool way for the show. So there's all kinds of orchestra hits and all these things that aren't in the original versions that are just really hip. So
Yeah, those are good venues
yeah.
in Vegas. They have really good acoustics. I saw that Elton
Oh
John
yeah.
one from years ago, and they shot this like in '08 or something. Like it sounds
Yeah.
amazing.
Oh
I
my
mean, the
God.
acoustics
That
are,
show is so loud. I'm
yeah.
lucky I have in-ears, but I always, not everybody, the dancers don't really wear earplugs on stage. And I'm just like, how are you guys doing this? Like, this show is so loud. It sounds amazing, but it's just, you can't tell me they don't have hearing damage from doing that show for years without earplugs, because that's crazy.
There are really good earplugs out there now too,
I know,
that
but it
that
doesn't
really
even
don't block it.
it
Yeah.
doesn't occur to them because it's like I'm the only music, there's two musicians in that show, and we're both on ears, so it's not really a thing, but it blows my mind.
Yeah. Wow. So going way, way back, you grew up
Yeah.
in Israel up until a
Hmm.
certain age. And when did you come
Yep.
to the States?
So I was 12 when my family moved, which is exactly the time you want to be
Yeah.
moving across the world and into a new culture, right? right into seventh grade. Perfect timing. Uh, but
Yeah,
I'm
most
really grateful
difficult
for it
year.
now, as hard as it
Yeah.
was. Yeah.
Nice, nice. Did you go back to Israel very much, or it's just like, a little
In
too
the
dicey?
first in the first decade or so, yeah. I mean, when my grandparents were still alive, and it felt like an important thing, and plus when I lived on the East Coast, it was considerably closer than coming out from Vegas is a trek and a half.
Oh yeah.
And so, in the last few years, with that generation being gone, it just, it's hard to find enough time in the schedule to justify the jet lag, that like the amount
Yeah.
of days you're going to need to straighten out and actually enjoy doing something. Like, so it's unfortunately become less and less often. So,
Yeah, that's the way it goes. So your
yeah.
brother got you into guitar. That's how you started
Hmm.
learning.
Yep. Pretty
Did
much.
did he
Yep.
give you lessons? Did he like
He
show you
never
the
gave
licks?
gave me formal lessons. I think he was just like, no, leave me, like big brother, like, why you copy me? Like, I don't want to give you lessons. You should get your own teacher, whatever. But not really like that. But it's just like we kind of had our separate things. So I picked up a lot of stuff from being around him and everything, and just growing up with the culture of everything, and it was all around me, but I never like sat down and took formal lessons from him. I had a plethora of teachers throughout my years growing up.
Yeah, where you were growing up too, and then you ended up at Berkeley. How did you
Hmm.
get into Berkeley? That's really tough. Berkeley is like the creme de la creme. Berkeley College of Music with the
It
two E's.
is, yeah. I mean, so full disclosure, the fact that my brother had done it all, and he went to Berkeley, and we were living in Boston, and I had access to some of the teachers from Berkeley just by fact of living close by, and again growing up around it. So I was pretty familiar with the whole gateway and the journey of doing that whole thing. I was just a lot younger going into it straight from high school, but I was lucky that we lived close by and that somebody in my family had already done it, and my parents were very familiar with the whole thing. And because you're right, it's not that simple to just make that happen, and certainly not
Yeah.
for two kids. So yeah, somebody paved the way for me for sure.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And then being on that Spellbound tour a decade ago.
Yeah, that I can't believe that was a decade ago too. Like,
Yeah,
that's
my
crazy. I've
gosh.
been thinking about that a lot because it was exactly a decade ago. It was like this time of
Yeah.
year. And yeah, what a crazy experience.
And those years
So,
just fly big time. It's just
uh-huh.
unreal.
Yeah, that was many shows and one pandemic ago, right?
Yeah, yeah. And then joining Danny was 3 years ago, but you were gonna do
Yeah,
Coachella was then the whole pandemic thing happened.
exactly.
Oh
Yeah,
my gosh.
exactly. So I met him in January of 2020. And luckily,
Great
thank
time.
God, you know what I mean? Because if I had come into the picture, if I were supposed to come into the picture 2 months later, it just wouldn't even, I wouldn't, like, it wouldn't have happened. I got so lucky to meet him when I did, because then it was at least we had done enough to know that he still was interested in having this band do something, make a record, circle back. I mean, nobody knew anything when it was all going down. So just the fact that he seemed to have the intention was the biggest thing. It really saved my life during the pandemic, to be honest.
Oh yeah, yeah. And then you got to play on his releases. He had
Right,
two releases after
exactly.
that.
So yeah, and so that's kind of what kept me busy for a lot of that pandemic, is receiving those songs as he was working on them, getting ready to record them. It was a lot harder once we finished working on that album. Let me just say it like that. Like, it got a lot lonelier and harder once that was over. But yeah, I'm so grateful for Danny.
Oh, for sure. So what's it like playing at the Hollywood Bowl? I've always wanted to go there. I saw it on Columbo once. I was like, this looks like an
Oh,
amazing.
so it's an amazing place, and embarrassingly enough, I lived in LA for 5 years and I never went to the bowl. And I think I knew how iconic it was supposed to be, but I was always convinced that I had to go see the right show there to have the right experience. It just didn't happen. I always wanted to go see the Nightmare shows, the Nightmare Before Christmas shows. And so it just was the most ironic thing in the world that the first time I was there, I was playing there with Danny. And it it's exactly what everybody says, like that place, there's an energy there that I'd never felt anywhere else. It's just such an when you're there, you can't even believe that you're in LA. Like you do see the forest from when you're driving on the freeway, but not really, like when you're in there,
Yeah.
you're like, all this is here? Like it's just where would it be? Like it never
Yeah.
made sense to me. It still doesn't. But it's
Legend.
such an
Yeah.
it's really beyond the fact that so many amazing legends have played there. It's just it's got an energy. It's just very unique. Only that place feels that way.
Yeah. So
So
are you going to tour yourself as a solo artist, or are you just going to keep doing more studio work?
I do have some solo shows coming up, and I'm probably gonna be doing more of that next year. I have a long tour with Dethklok coming up later on this year, so that's taken up a lot of time, but that's gonna be an amazing tour as well. So, yeah, gonna be a lot of fun.
That's some pretty heavy stuff, though, Death
Oh
Clock.
man, that's
Oh my
heavy. That's as heavy as
gosh.
I feel like to like. I love Dethklok, but that I don't think I could do much heavier than that. Like that's pretty brutal.
I imagine. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you've
So.
gotten to work with some really interesting guitarists too. Steve Vai. I remember when Steve
Mhm.
Vai went out with David Lee Roth. I
Mhm.
was like, this is gonna be just
How
like,
good was that? Oh,
yeah.
that band was so incredible. Yeah,
Yeah.
that band was amazing. Steve's, I mean, words don't need to be said about it, and he's just been so awesome to me through the years, and it was really fun to get to jam with him when he came through town last time, and with Ellen, the bass player. I never know how to pronounce her last name, but she goes by Ellen Bass or whatever. So amazing 10-year-old bassist, and it was just such a fun day. And with Dave Wiener's last run in the band too, so which we didn't know at the time. So that ended up being a
Yes.
nice bonus. He's also
Yeah.
great player and super nice guy.
Yeah. Amazing. And so your catalog, you already have 3 solo albums to your credit. So where have you recorded those albums?
They were all the first one I had recorded at a friend's studio back in when I was just finishing up Berkeley. But the rest of it, most of it, really was recorded in my various home studio situations that that I had been in, and just kind of learned the art of recording guitar through the years. And the art of recording guitar is getting more accessible and easier throughout the years, obviously.
Yeah.
So that's hopefully just to our benefit. So
Yeah, it
um,
really is. But like everybody can do this now, but you have to have some kind of an edge and a talent.
right,
And I'm
yeah,
sure.
it's just it helps when you went through the days of having to mic everything and testing the mic positions a million times and like figuring it all out or whatever. And now that it's so much easier, it's just to your benefit that a gamut of all those things are available to you, and you can make it as easy as you can, but still have the facility to understand how to make it sound good with all those resources.
Yeah. So I mean, do you practice a lot? I mean, even to this day, do you just how many hours would you estimate like per week that you put into
Um,
practice?
I mean, a lot, but I guess my practice now is in the form of prep for whatever I have coming up, because there's always something. There's always something on the table, whether it's like this morning I was just finishing up a couple of solos that I owe to people or so, or it's just learning songs for the next gig, or there's always something, and I feel like all of it is practice. So it ends up being more time than I think it is. I'm always going to be like, okay, I have an hour here, I'll do that, and then I'll be done. I'll be on with the rest of my day, and things. It's not that simple.
Yeah,
Yeah.
really
So
is. Yeah.
yeah,
Well, gosh, it's I gotta get out to Cirque du Soleil. How
you
long is
should.
this going on now? It's called One.
It's called One. Yeah, the show runs forever pretty much. It's dark on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. I'm in about 4 shows a month right now, every couple weeks. It's always 2 shows a night. But yeah, get in touch with me and we'll figure out a time that I'm for sure there, and we can make it happen.
Gotta get to. I was in Vegas. Oh my gosh, I did freelance writing on the side of all my
Mm.
video work and all that stuff. It's been years now. It was like in '97.
Oh
I went
wow.
there. Yeah,
Well,
and
this town
Louis.
has changed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it definitely. I'm sure it has.
Yeah.
And they changed the name of the airport too. Oh my gosh, I
That's
just
recent
saw
though. That
that.
just happened, and that snuck up on me. I was like, "What?" Yeah.
It's like all of a sudden I just saw it like on a Facebook because somebody said they
Harry
were at the
Reid.
Harry Reid
Yeah.
airport. Like, what?
Yeah, it was on every online thing way before they changed the signs, and now they just now like have new signage and stuff, and even in the airport itself, some of it still says McCarran.
Yeah. So you're at the Mandalay Bay and
Hmm.
Resorts.
Yeah.
I've been to Caesars,
Hmm.
which is really, yeah, the strip is great, but beautiful state. Once you get out there and
Oh
like you
yeah,
share your
that's
videos.
why I love it. As you know.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I've been
yeah.
up to Ely, Nevada,
Uh-huh.
and I don't think I've been to Carson City, but gosh, it's just very unique. It's just
Yeah.
a
There's a
unique state.
lot out here that
Yeah.
people, yeah, people don't think about, which is kind of lucky for us.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much
Uh,
for your time. I really
Thank
enjoyed it.
you. That was awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
Best wishes. Hope to see you. Hopefully, you do some touring. I'm in the Atlanta, Georgia area, so I
All
know a lot
right.
of people. It's
Well,
usually the place
cool.
where you change plans, but
Well, no, we're coming through with Dethklok in the fall. There's an Atlanta show on that tour.
oh,
So,
cool.
yeah. So we should definitely talk about that. And
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, definitely.
awesome.
Well, take care and
Thank you,
best
Bob.
wishes.
You too.
Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye bye. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. It was a really, really good talk. I'm just amazed by the way somebody could learn an instrument like that and carry on and do so well and really make a great career out of it. It's incredibly inspirational. So we're heading towards summer. I really hope that you will enjoy it. We will over here, that's for sure. Before you know it, it's going to be past Memorial Day, and at least here in the Atlanta, Georgia area, people like to vacate and then go and hit the beach. People love the beach here because they miss it. A lot of people came from other places. They didn't really grow up here. Very few did. I wonder what the percentage is because very few people actually grew up in the Atlanta, Georgia metro area. It's 13 counties. It's a monster here. It's growing by leaps and bounds. So hope to see you all soon. Take care.